What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I am your host, Chris Raybon. It's NFL Wildcard Weekend. Momentarily, I'll be joined by one of the most accurate rankers in the game, the odds maker, Sean Koerner. We're going to get into our player projections for Wildcard Weekend. Quick reminder, all of our fantasy football content is available right now over on fantasylabs.com. Plus, Fantasy Labs has a new feature, Pick Labs. It is live. Pick Labs lets you scan the best player prop and pick 'em bets in seconds. Everything is broken down for you from edges and win rates to value. It's a clean board showing which plays actually stand out across sports books and sites like Underdog and Prize Picks. And when you see something you like, Pick Labs builds the bet slip and sends it straight to the book of your choice for a limited time. You could get free access by signing up for a Fantasy Labs DFS subscription. Just visit fantasylabs.com/pricing and use code FLEX20 to get $20 off your first payment. That's code FLEX20, FLEX20 for $20 off at fantasylabs.com/pricing. All right, Koerner, we're going to get into, our normal top five at each position. Guys we're high and low on, give out some props, but first, still got to crown these cardio kings. These are the guys, right? I don't even see them in the doc, so I assume somebody that was really invisible.
This is going to be interesting. I have to do this on the fly.
All right, and just for the people out there, I'll just explain while you look that up. It's it's the players who ran the most routes without a target. And we always like to know that. It's just kind of funny, but also, certain teams are more kind of, they go to their first read more. And you kind of like guys who don't get targeted and at a reliable rate and do it a lot. Trying to think of a guy like Isaiah Hodgins on the Giants is one that kind of concentrates targets around.
He got a target this weekend.
A target.
I mean, it took Wan'Dale Robinson to be placed on the IR along with Theo Johnson to get there, but finally drew a target. Everybody who ran at least 20 routes saw a target. All right, tight end. Your guy, Shane Zylstra, got it for tight ends with 17 routes and no targets. That's kind of interesting, but
it's all Amon-Ra that game.
Yeah. And Isaac Tisla, right?
Right. And then who we got for wideout?
This is incredible. I don't think I've seen this. Everybody who had at least 10 routes saw a target.
Really? Wow.
That can't make sense. I have to be doing this wrong. Kyle Williams with 9 routes was the cardio king.
I mean, it doesn't sound wrong, but let me check. Let me double check because that would be a first, I think.
That has to be. Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, it is week 18. You have weird things going on where a lot of guys like Britton Covey ran a ton of routes, so he was going to see a target. What, did you see somebody I missed?
Yep. I did.
Who? Do I need to guess?
Xavier Weaver.
Oh, my God.
I got him with 33 routes last week for the Cards, no targets. And then Konata Mumpfield was in second, way down at 21. So
I just saw that.
Yeah,
I think there was a dispute over one of the passes. If there was a target, it was intended for him, but not even close. I think that's why certain sources have that kind of mixed up. But yeah, Xavier Weaver had to be the clear favorite, right? He was probably 5-1.
Yeah, especially with the because he was the starting, I guess that's the Z receiver for the Cardinals. Yeah. So definitely because you got McBride. And you got Wilson in that X role with Harrison out. So, yeah. And then, I mean, I think Mumpfield is more interesting just looking forward into this week just because you're probably going to get Devontae Adams back too, but Mumpfield still plays a lot, especially in those single receiver sets. So that just kind of allows them to target the tight ends more. So that's pretty interesting. All right. Enough of that. Let's get into our top 5 at quarterback week 19 wildcard weekend. Koerner, who you got?
I got Josh Allen, Drake May, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, and Matthew Stafford.
I got Yeah, Allen, Hurts, May, Lawrence, Stafford, same exact top 5. Herbert, if his offensive line wasn't in shambles, he would be pushing Stafford right there. But he's in just in QB6 behind Stafford for me as well. Who are you high on?
Yeah, I'm high on Jordan Love. I have him ranked 10th out of 12 quarterbacks this week, but no one's playing fantasy anymore. But I could see him being sneaky in like DFS, maybe player props. Although the Packers are a luck-raking play this week, so maybe they do end up. Yeah, the games are on a pick 'em, but maybe they do have a lead for most of the game, which lowers his passing volume. But he's just always been super efficient against the Bears. And this is actually because he missed the last 2 games due to concussion and rest. This is actually the 3rd time he's going to face the Bears in his last 4 games, which is actually insane. But he typically does well against the Bears, like I mentioned. He had averaged 10 yards per attempt against them in 5 games in his career, which was the 5th highest for any quarterback the last 40 seasons. And part of that is just due to them just struggling to get pressure on anybody, but especially him. And he tends to have really big splits when it comes to facing pressure versus having a clean pocket. That's been sort of the story throughout his career. So he's averaging right around 4 more yards per attempt from a clean pocket. So I'm expecting him to have, a fairly clean pocket here. I think Zach Tom's supposed to return, so that should help. But tends to thrive against the Bears. They are expected to trail at around a 20% higher rate, despite this being a pick'em. So I could see, stacking him with someone like Christian Watson in GPPs for this weekend makes a ton of sense. But I think Jordan Love's probably the quarterback I think is going to be the most underrated this weekend.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, and the defense isn't as good. You got your receivers. You got to throw it downfield. They play man coverage. And Jordan Love, I mean, he tends to come alive in the playoffs if he has any receivers. I mean, that game against, what was it, Philly last year? Everyone just was dropping like flies, but should be a little bit healthier, or a lot healthier here at receiver for the Packers. I'm high on Matthew Stafford going up against Carolina. I know he threw some picks in that last matchup, but Carolina is dead last in pressure rate, 23rd in pass DVOA. You got Higbee back. Looks like Devontae Adams is going to be back. So you're going to have your full complement of weapons. You're going to have the threat of that play action game for Matthew Stafford. Just everything working for him. And this Carolina team that, I mean, shouldn't even really be in the playoffs. That's just the NFC South for you. So I think Stafford can have a big game here. I know he's just been kind of a pick machine at certain times ever since breaking that record for the most consecutive touchdowns without a pick, I believe it was. So it's been interesting, but I do think with no pressure, even though it's outdoors for Carolina, you just can't, let Stafford sit back in the pocket with Devontae, with Puka, with all those tight ends, with the play action game. Like it's not going to go well for the Panthers. So yeah, love Matthew Stafford this week, even though he is a pocket passer. I do think he can put up some big numbers here. All right, who you on?
Well, I'm going to go the easy route here and go with Aaron Rodgers, who I have ranked dead last, but by 2 full points below Bryce Young. I mean, everybody has a tougher matchup this weekend because it is the playoffs, but Rodgers obviously gets, the most brutal matchup here against the Texans. And what could be, is the final game of his career if the Steelers lose here. But the silver lining is he will be getting DK Metcalf back. I think that's going to be a boost for the passing game because that wide receiver depth chart is just awful without DK. So getting him back will certainly help. But yeah, the Texans ranked 2nd in DVOA against the pass. And, Rodgers, he's not going to be able to provide you any rushing upside at all to kind of overcome this tougher matchup. That's where Bryce Young, has the edge on him where, he has a brutal matchup against the Rams as well, but he could rush for 20 plus yards if needed to help offset it a bit. So Rodgers, again, he's 2 full points lower than Bryce Young as my number 12 QB this week.
Hey, no respect for the 20-yard scramble that Rodgers bust. And he should have had a second one. Remember the one where he was like going toward the side? He looked like he had an angle, and he didn't trust it and just pulled up and did like just throw it out of bounds type of thing. But he should have had about 26 rushing yards on 2 carries.
He had 6 the game before, 9 the game before. So if anything, maybe ladder his rushing yards. It is his final game. Maybe he gets some Percocet to help him through it or something. But yeah, it is ironic that I bring it up after this 3-game stretch where he has 5+ rushing yards. But I digress. It's still an absolutely brutal matchup.
Also, you can't just call it his last game. Like, he could absolutely. They're like the Steelers are. That's all they do is upset people. As underdogs.
Yeah. So I think they're gonna
just write Aaron Rodgers off, just like the Ravens.
No.
Did.
I said it'd be his last game if they lose, but
okay.
I'm assuming you'll be on the Steelers plus 3.5. How could you not?
Probably, but I do respect the Texans, so I gotta look more at that. That might be like an under type of situation.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers only has, he has Kenneth Gainwell, who's like Marshall Faulk. But yeah, I don't know if Metcalf moves the needle. I'm low on the other quarterback in that game, C.J. Stroud. And this is just kind of, the Steelers defense, I know they had some breakdowns against Lamar Jackson, and so the efficiency numbers look bad. But overall, they have been trending up. You're going to have Watt in there. You're going to have a pass rush. You're going to be at home, and you're playing C.J. Stroud, who's used to playing indoors. At home, he averages just under 260 yards passing. When he goes on the road, that drops to under 215. So drops about 45 yards per game. Over 8 yards an attempt at home, under 7 yards an attempt on the road for his career, 1.6 touchdowns at home, 1.1 on the road, more interceptions on the road. And the passer rating goes from 101 to 85. So just not a great spot for C.J. Stroud. One of those guys that you just like to fade with, when he based on his home road splits, especially when it's an outdoor type of situation. And this is just, this for the Texans to be that hot and still get this matchup, it's not a short thing at all, like as you alluded to. So, maybe they try to keep it on the ground more. Woody Marks, we'll see. But, that Texan O-line still is a little bit shaky. So, not feeling great about Stroud this week. All right, what are we doing for the prop?
Let's do a fun one. I offered you this last year, but let's go with the most passing yards this weekend. So any quarterback, just what's the week high in passing yards? Last year it was actually a low yardage opening weekend. I think CJ Stroud had the most. He had 382. Yeah, that led the weekend. The wildcard weekend before that, in 2023, there was at least 4 players. Flacco, Dak had 403, Stafford had 367, and Baker Mayfield had 337. So I'm going to set it. I actually ran the sim on this. So my median for this is 320.5 passing yards. Do you think anyone's going to clear that?
Ooh, 320.5.
All games are outdoors.
They are, yeah. Yes, I'm gonna go over. It is a kind of an ugly slate, median wise, and you do have a bunch of outdoor games. But like I said, I think Stafford's in a good spot even though he's outdoors, and then a lot of these games are close. So that's the other thing. It's aside from that game where I think the passer probably has the best matchup, which is Stafford. All those other games are expected to be pretty close. So, that could drive up the passing yardage on either side. Caleb, the Bears, somebody's going to get down real big and have, we see this most years, especially, and the most likely time to see it, I think, is the wild card round. So, I'm going to go over. I could see, Trevor Lawrence having to do it, Josh having to do it. I could even see Hurts having to do it in that San Francisco game, depending on how the Eagles, play and run the football. So, I lean over. It's a good line and it's ugly. It's an ugly slate like on the medians, but yeah, I'm gonna go over.
Yeah. With every game outdoors, that's interesting. But really, no bad weather expected. Maybe Carolina, but like you see Bills Jaguars, you think, oh, it's in Buffalo, it's snowy, but it's in Jacksonville because the Bills are the lower seed. So it's going to be 67 there, barely any winds, no rain. So yeah, like the weather looks like it's going to be pretty good this weekend. And like you said, all it takes is like one team to kind of get down big for someone just to have to get, super pass heavy and clear it. But 320.5 it is about the median from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, because you only have 12 guys in action. So yeah, it's going to be tough to clear. But there's still too many. There's too many close matchups for me to fade that number. So yeah. All right, let's go to running back top 5. Who we got?
Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, James Cook, Kyren Williams, and Josh Jacobs.
Ooh, I got McCaffrey, Cook, Barkley, Kyren, and Travis Etienne, baby.
Nice.
Who you high on?
I'm high on Kyren Williams. Obviously, Blake Corum's my favorite back in the league right now. But I had been saying the last few weeks of the season that they had planned to kind of get Corum a little bit more involved to kind of keep Kyren fresh for the playoffs. I don't know if that's still the case because Corum is so good, and being able to kind of use them in a 50-50 split keeps Kyren fresh and even more efficient. So not sure what they'll do here, but I'm assuming he will get a little bit more work since it is the playoffs now. But this is a great matchup for him because this is the most lopsided matchup of the weekend. You have one of the best teams right now facing one of the worst playoff teams ever, right, in the Panthers. So they're obviously double digit favorites on the road for a reason, but this is a good matchup because the Panthers run defense ranks 24th in DVOA. But they've been really vulnerable on inside runs. So if you look at yards before contact on inside runs, they've allowed 1.6 yards before contact, which is the second highest. And Kyren, that he typically just runs inside. He runs inside on 64% of his runs, which is the second highest rate in the league. I think it's James Cook is actually the highest. But anytime he gets at least 1 yard before contact on inside runs, he's averaging 5.6 yards per carry. So I'm expecting him to be super efficient here, probably get more work on early downs here than we've seen, the last month of the season. So I think this is the perfect matchup for him to go off.
Yeah, that split is gonna be really interesting. But Kyron's always, he's gonna get his one way or another. Like he's always a focal point in the playoffs, and that's what they're kind of saving him for and using that committee. So Kyron's definitely, I think, gonna get fed, and then Corum, it just really depends on how. If they can build a big lead, I think Corum, then he's in the mix for that pivot from Kyren to Corum, lead the game in rushing or something like that. That you like to do.
Yeah, I misspoke. It's Nick Chubb has the highest inside run rate, usually running right into a brick wall, but 70%.
Jaw hard Jordan, baby.
Yeah. Oh, he's questionable though, right?
Yeah.
Jaw hard.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm high on Travis Etienne. I already mentioned it, but Jaguars at home. So this is not a go on the road against the Josh Allen team. Like they're coming into your spot. So the Jags still should be in a good spot here to run the football. I think they're going to want to run the football. Buffalo ranks 31st in DVOA against the run, 30th in yards per carry allowed to running backs at just under 5. They're bad at giving up second level yards, open field yards. So this is a spot where ETN could break off some explosives. And you have, the rookie Tootin, and you have Allen, another rookie behind him. So ETN, I could see his, carry share going up. We started to see that down the stretch with Tootin banged up anyway. ETN was getting about 80% of those backfield carries. Most of the year, he was around like 65, 70. So I think this is a spot where, Liam Cohen may not mess around. We saw how he did with Bucky Irving last year, where as you got down the stretch, Bucky just started getting more and more and more carries. ETN's his guy. I know Irving would compare more to Tootin, but ETN is the guy in Jacksonville. So I could see him just getting a massive workload here in a game that the Jags can absolutely win or just have positive game script in. So high on ETN this week. Who you low on?
I'm low on Jaylen Warren, just because this is a brutal matchup for him on the ground. Texans, obviously very good against the pass, but still great against the run. You know, they rank second in DVOA against the run. Plus, this is a game where even if you think, you know, the Steelers will cover the 3.5, they're still expected to trail at a, 16% higher rate than normal, just based on the spread. So probably won't get as much volume on the ground. And then, with Kenneth Gainwell really just dominating the passing down work, it's just going to be tougher for Warren to overcome it. He did have a 5-catch, 33-yard receiving line last week, but it was kind of fluky because he only ran around on 24% of Rodgers' dropbacks, which there was 50 of them, I believe. But he saw just an insane 42% target rate. That's not sustainable. Getting DK Metcalf back this week will probably help lower that. But, his season rate's closer to 20%, so would expect him to be, closer to that. So he's just kind of like, pigeonholed in there where he's going to have to be super efficient on, limited early down work. So, yeah, after all that, Kenneth Gainwell really came on strong to end the year, and I have him ranked higher than Warren again this week. So Warren's all the way down to RB13 for me this week.
Yeah, he is. Where is he? Yeah, same for me. Yeah, Gainwell 12, Warren 13. Because we just don't really know what he's going to get in the passing game these days. It's like a 75-25 split.
Yeah.
I am low on Rico Dowdle going up against the Rams. Just negative game script for a team that has overachieved. I know he's the lead back. I know they're going to try to lean on him as long as they can, and they are at home. But the interesting thing for me for this matchup is the Rams are expected to get back safety Quentin Lake, who they just gave a new contract to the first day of the new year, and he was injured. So they must expect him to come back here. And their run defense was just completely different with him on the field the first 11 weeks of the season compared to off. They were allowing just 3.5 yards per carry in the 11 weeks with Lake. And then that jumped up to 4.4, so nearly a full yard since he's gone down. So if they get him back, that just allows them to put a lot, put some other guys back in the right positions. And I think their run defense, the Rams, that is, could be a little underrated here. So low on Dowdle, who, still seeing the lion's share, about 60, about 2/3, about 60, 65, 35 over Chuba Hubbard right now. But Chuba does mix in for some more pass down work, and that's what you might need in this matchup as a 10-point underdog. So low on Dowdle. Running back prop. Let's go. Oh yeah, gotta go. You mentioned Josh Jacobs is in your top 5. I mean, he's just been a disaster lately. So, but they are facing the Bears, who have a pretty weak run defense, all things considered. So I'm gonna go with Let's go Jacobs versus Emmanuel Wilson rushing yards, because I think that they're inversely correlated. Yeah. So Jacobs minus 42.5.
Yeah, I'm right around there. I have it closer to like 43. But you're right. Yeah, he's been rough. I think they've been kind of limiting him, where he just didn't have it going, so they just figured they would shut him down. And Wilson's been great, so they have a good backup. But have you seen so I'm gonna take. Man, this is tough. I think I'm going to take Jacobs here, because I am projecting him to kind of return to that 62% of the total rushing share. I know you do it a little bit differently than me, but I have him kind of bouncing back to his season high rates. But I don't feel great about it. But if you look at the actual prop market, they have the spread at like 50-51. So would you be interested? Would you be more interested in like a Jacobs under or a Wilson over based on that split, or both?
Probably a Wilson over, because I think you have some laddering opportunities.
Yeah.
At a lower number, because he could if he gets the hot hand. I mean, I think Jacobs probably will still get the first drive or two, but Wilson gets the hot hand. I think he would mix in more. So he could have like 100-yard game off the bench too. But it's hard to project right now because I'm essentially saying, like is Jacobs going to get like more than 10 carries than Wilson in this game? And I don't know. That's kind of up for debate these days. I mean, we just don't really have much to go off of lately because it's just been like, so I do think there's got to be at least some concern about the split. I do think that, the matchup is going to be a little bit forgiving for both guys, but like Wilson is going to be ranked way down there, and he could end up having a better game than like Monaganai, who is like who you would think as a number 2 back in this game would have the better game. So yeah, I'm kind of watching this one because I don't know if Jacobs is fully healthy. I know he's had time off to heal, but I just don't know if he'll ever get right this year. So I'm
Wilson's
kind of looking into that.
Wilson's prop is 19.5 rushing yards. So let me take a step back. Do you like the Packers here to cover the spread, but like win the game? Because if you do, then that's even more in the favor of Wilson. If you like the Bears, then I would be more interested in fading Jacobs. You know what I mean? So if you think the Packers are probably going to win, then I would rather back Wilson here. But it is a big split right now in the prop market.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call. Like, I do think the Bears have a bet. Like, I think they're rightful favorites just the way the Packers are playing these days. I mean, their defense is not going to be the same. But it's just more a question mark for me when I haven't seen a guy in so long, and then the team was already kind of getting a little weird with the splits as he was kind of struggling. I just don't know how long they stick with him because he's already not getting as much passing down work. So like for fantasy, I think that could be, it could be significant because everyone's going to be expecting just like a monster game from Jacobs. He's been rested, going against a bad defense. So I'd probably be more interested in fading Jacobs medians, but Wilson, like I said, I think he has great ladder opportunities because he could just double, triple, quadruple, his number, and regardless of what happens with Jacobs, even.
Yeah, and the Packers and his rush attempt prop is 17.5, which is a bit high. And the Packers, they love to mix in, like Jaden Reed. You get, Savion Williams is on the IR, but they love to just kind of mix it up a little bit by giving their wide receivers some design looks. Chris Brooks could get a carry or two. You never know. So it's just like Jacobs has a much lower floor than I think the market's kind of leading on right now.
Yeah, the Packers, I believe they give the ball the most to like non running backs. Let me double check that because they're way up there. About 8% of their designed carries, like non-quarterback designed carries, go to like non-running backs. Like, so it's like wide receivers, tight ends, guys like that. That is, it's definitely the highest in the playoff field. I believe it's the highest for anybody. Let's see.
Some of those could have been Tucker Kraft, though. I don't know if they're giving Musgrave any kind of looks like that, but either way, they do like to mix things up a bit more than usual.
Only the Saints because of Taysom. Have more, but it's you have like Bo Melton gets carries, Golden gets carries, pretty much any receiver that they have in there except Dobbs will get the rock.
Right. You could probably see it coming with him.
Yeah. Just leave him on the outside. Let him catch touchdowns. All right. Receiver. Who are we looking at for our top 5?
Yeah, I got Puka Nacua, A.J. Brown, Nico Collins, Devontae Adams, and Devontae Smith.
I got Puka, Nico, A.J., Stephon Diggs, and Devontae Adams. Now, we don't. I mean, I guess he's going to play, right? We'll see.
Yeah.
But as long as he's in there, I'm pretty. Let me not get ahead of myself. Who are you hiring?
I'm on Devontae Smith, who I kind of like his Week 18 usage. He came in there just for like a drive or two to get. I think he needed like 45, 50 yards to get 1,000, and he got that like super quick, and then he got out of there. So it's kind of nice. He got in the game, got a little bit of work, and then got plenty of rest. But this week is a plus matchup for him against the Niners. They've used man coverage at a bottom 10 rate on the season, and usually AJ Brown dominates versus man, and Smith leads the team with a 2.2 yards per route run against zone. But this is just a great matchup against the Niners, who they've been awful this year, and ranked 26 in DVOA against the pass. But Smith leads the team with a 2.6 yards per route run when Hurts has a clean pocket. And ever since Nick Bosa went down in week 3 for the Niners, they've generated the second lowest pressure rate. So I think Hurts should have a pretty clean pocket here. He's not really scrambling as much this year, so he's looking to throw. So I think this sets up as a blowout spot for Smith. So yeah, he's top 5, and he's a guy that his prop market's about right, but taking some alt overs in this spot makes sense, especially if the Niners are able to put up points. This game could turn to a shootout, and you kind of alluded, Hurts could end up having a big game here. So I think guys like Smith might see higher ceiling than normal this week.
Yeah, Devontae against that zone coverage should be a very good matchup for him. It's been a little less, I guess. It hasn't been as pronounced this year at times. Like I think AJ's just been good regardless. That's really what it's been. Like he's just been good week in, week out. But yeah, Smith should be a really good spot for him. That Niner defense can't do anything. Although I mean, they did hold the Seahawks to 13, but that was a second division game. The first one was already low scoring. I could see Philly just putting up points there.
Yeah, if they win this week, Fred Warner might be back, right? Like he's kind of looking for the divisional round. That'd be a huge lift.
Yeah, but they'll get like 5 more guys injured if they somehow.
That's
win.
True. Yeah.
what's his Bethune was going down like every other play.
He's out. Yeah, he's out.
Yeah.
Winters is questionable. So yeah, they were able to get Kendricks a few weeks ago, right? So he's able to fill in for now, but assuming they advance, which is a big assumption, they might get Warner back.
Yeah, no, that would be really interesting. I mean, the Niners, I think they're underrated team, but just I don't know if they can overcome the injuries. But at the same time, we've also seen the Eagles offense go quiet at times. So we'll see how that one ends up playing out. But for me, high on, just like you had your guy in your top 5 that you're high on with Devontae. For me, it's Stephon Diggs. And, the reason being, so for one, Mac Hollins on IR for the Patriots, he was commanding a pretty decent target share and route share in this offense. You replace that with more, Kyle Williams, Kayshon Boutte. Like those are lower percentage route runners, guys that aren't getting targeted as much. Diggs also, they seem to be increasing his route rate in important games. So you could see him run a route on, 80, 90% of the dropbacks in this spot, as opposed to the season average, which is around 70%. And then the Chargers, they have very good numbers on defense. They're very good defense. But when you look at their numbers against number 1 receivers, yes, they're middle of the pack in DVOA, but 8.2 schedule adjusted targets to number 1 receivers, 5.5 to number 2, 4.7 to 3, 4, and 5s and on. And they're top 3 in DVOA versus number 2 wide receivers, number 3 wide receivers, and then they allow almost nothing to running backs, and not much to tight ends either. So wide receiver ones are usually the ones that are getting the bulk of the targets and production for this Charger on this Charger defense. And I do expect Drake May to still move the football through the air in this spot. So I think Stephon Diggs is going to be kind of a little sneaky spot here because his route rate has just been so suppressed the entire year. But now it's go time for him and this Patriot team. So Chargers do play a lot of zone too. So there should be some gimmies too for Diggs. So like him as a top 5 receiver this week.
Yeah, where are you projecting his routes run rate to open the week?
I have it at 80%, which is about 10% higher than his season average. But we've seen him hit that, in a bunch of important games throughout
his
the
season
season.
high is 89%.
Yep.
Back in week 11. So yeah, it's clearly they've been kind of limiting him on purpose. So would imagine he's going to be operating closer to his ceiling here, right around 80%, like you said.
Yeah, because week 16, 80%, and then week 17, 73%, and then last week they down to 63%. They didn't really need him as much, but I think 80% is probably a fair. 75 to 85, somewhere in there, probably where he ends up. All right, who you on?
I'm low on Roma Dunze, assuming he returns this week from his foot injury, which, has held him out the last few games. It sounds like he's a lot closer to 100%. They were probably just being super careful with that. But he is returning to a much more crowded room right now because as he's been away, we've seen Luther Burden finally have his breakout, but also Colson Loveland as well. So it's hard to see either rookie kind of slowing down here just because Odunze's back. Plus, Odunze, he tends to see most of his targets downfield, so he's just going to have a wider range of outcomes now with a lower target share, presumably. So I have him wide receiver 19, Burton wide receiver 14. But this is sort of a preview of next season where, I think Burton's going to be the alpha in this offense. They'll potentially move on from DJ Moore, right? So I think Burton's going to be the man, and then Colson Loveland's going to be a beast. So I think, Odunze is going to be probably the number 3 target in this offense going forward. This is all fantastic news for Caleb Williams. By the way, next season, he should be even better, kind of near 2 in the scheme. But Roma Dunze, I still love him, long term, but just with Burden and Loveland there, it's hard to really project them for, much of a target share, especially in a game where, he's coming back from a foot injury here.
Yeah, and Janae Walker is starting to get something going too. Like I wonder, because he didn't steal really any snaps earlier in the year, but saw that he kind of, he was getting snaps over Zacchaeus lately, and so I wonder if he steals like a few snaps here and there from Odunze in this one, because Odunze really hasn't been as productive, like you said, when he's been on the field lately. I'm low on DK Metcalf. I know Chris Collinsworth was saying like, this could be the most consequential suspension like in a long time, and now he's back, and everyone expects the Steelers to just kind of right the ship a little bit, but going up against the Houston Texans defense, so this is still a really tough matchup for Metcalf, and we're still talking about the ghost of Aaron Rodgers here, and we're talking about this Texan defense in a playoff environment and the outdoors angle. I mean, I know Metcalf, they've been playing outdoors all year, but this is an outdoor playoff game against the top pass defense in the league. Is not really what I want for my number 1 receiver. So Houston this year, the 4th fewest schedule adjusted receiving yards allowed to number 1 receivers, just 47 according to FTN. I mean, that's just nothing. So it's going to be tough here with those cornerbacks, that pass rush. The Steelers' offensive line hasn't been great. It looked pretty good against the Ravens. That might be a Ravens problem. It's going to be a big step up in class here. So I know Metcalf is kind of the shiny new toy coming off that suspension, and he's kind of all they got, especially with they're down a tight end. Gainwell's putting up so many yards in the receiving game, just trying to tide him over. But I could easily see maybe like a Calvin Austin or MBS, somebody getting single coverage. They might make those kind of guys beat him versus Metcalf, who I think is going to struggle a bit here. So and he could also just self-destruct because it's going to be a frustrating game. He could draw some, he could get ejected or do something stupid. I mean, I could see him getting frustrated with the on-field play, not the fans of the stands in this one. So low on Metcalf.
That's why he has been out the last couple of games. So exactly. You could definitely see that. What's up with Lassiter? Is he back at practice yet? Have you heard anything about him? I'm expecting him to be back, but let's see. I don't know if we have any. Right? They play Monday night, so that does buy him, at least an extra day. to return. Probably doesn't matter too much with Metcalf, but if they're at full strength, it just makes it even tougher.
Seems like it seems like it was just a precautionary thing.
Oh,
like
okay.
they held him out. He had like ankle and knee, so just give him time to get right.
Yeah,
I would expect
they held
him
out
in there.
fully healthy Nico in that game. So that was the first signal they weren't taking this game too seriously.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't blame him. I mean, you got it. Like the Texans, they've won a playoff game every year with Stroud. Like they've always won a first round game, so they're kind of probably thinking deeper into the playoffs. They cannot lose. I mean, any of those guys really. It's like they have a bunch of replaceable receivers outside of Nico. Like every single one of them. And I mean, Higgins. We love Higgins, but
I wish I knew that information before. I still ended up winning the bet miraculously, but I locked in Dalton Schultz the night before at under 4.5. And I wondered why. I was like, why is Jaden Higgins prop so high right now? And I was like, is somebody out? Like, is Christian Kirk out, or like what the hell's going on? Didn't see anything. And so I locked in Schultz under 4.5, and then Nico's rolled out first thing in the morning. I was like, God damn it. But then I realized, Schultz is going to play, obviously. But, if, the Jaguars blow, they're in a blowout, we might see them rest starters. So this might actually work out. So that's exactly what happened. Schultz had 4 catches at halftime, and then they pulled the starter. So I got lucky with that one, but I was not expecting Nico to get ruled out like that.
Yeah, they do. I think the year before, 2024, they played him like the entire first series, but he got targeted like 5 times on that series for like. I don't know if he needed. I forget if he needed to get it over an incentive or it was a milestone or what. But I think he had like 35 yards and like 5 targets or something, and then just didn't play for the rest of the game against the Titans or something. So yeah, the Texans are weird like that. But like the Texans moved on from Deshaun Watson and they ended up with CJ Stroud. And then now they're playing the Steelers, who just benefited from the Ravens kicker, who's probably there because Justin Tucker was doing the same thing Deshaun Watson was doing. But the thing is, the Texans, the guy they made inactive for Nico was Justin Watson. Like,
wow,
Justin Watson.
Oh my God! Yeah, how did you come up with that? That is insane.
I just couldn't believe that.
Who does that mean is going to win then?
I don't know. I mean, the Texans have Justin and Watson, so I feel like, them. They'll win the game and lose the war. I don't know.
So they're gonna win by 3. Cash the money line, but lose by the spread. That could be it. I mean, realistically, I mean, I don't know. This is a tough game. This is a tough game to handicap because the Steelers, they're not dead, but they might be dead. Yeah. I mean, it is at home though.
Yeah. Yep. You're gonna get
Stroud playing outdoors. It should be pretty cold, right? I mean, he's an LA boy. He doesn't like cold weather. Yeah, it's going to be pretty
inefficient run game.
I would consider 33 degrees cold.
Yeah, didn't the Texans lose like 34-2 or something last year to somebody? Like it was the Ravens, I think they lost. Yeah, so the Texans could absolutely just they could just they could go quiet too. So yeah, it's tough. Probably an under game. Let's see. What do we? Do we do a wide receiver prop yet? No.
Yeah, I got one for you.
Okay. What we got?
Want your opinion on this, but I'm going to go Devontae Adams, expecting him to return here. Receiving yards, 53.5.
That's tough because I do like Stafford here. I actually have it under, so I'm a little under that. And the thing about it is he's targeted so often in the red zone, but it's his first game back. How much, is he targeted all over the field? And does he play, how much does he play in single receiver sets too? Because I mean, they've been going with Mumfield there. And I mean, I would assume if Puka has still got to be like first choice if you're going to have only one receiver on the field in an important spot, unless it's the red zone. So yeah, I think Adams could get 2 touchdowns, but the yardage, just because he's targeted so much in the red zone, yeah, I'm gonna go under that. I'm gonna go and it could be a blowout. Yeah, but
yep.
That's
all right.
That's a good line.
Love to hear that. I already locked in a bet this morning on him. I saw his receptions prop under 4.5 was -125, and I couldn't hit that quick enough. So that was my first bet I logged this week. Ooh. It's already down to -160. Where are you projecting his receptions?
Let's see. 3.9. 3.9. I got him about 3.9 for 51 receiving yards.
Yeah. Are you projecting him? I was safe. Like when I wrote it up, I just projected him at like max capacity, and I still had it, around 4.2. But like you said, there's a chance that he's, only out there for 70% of the dropbacks, and like you said, like he's typically, getting targets, in the end zone or downfield, like very high leverage targets where every time he catches the ball, it's usually propelling the Rams into a more leading run-heavy game script. So yeah. Like it's like almost every time he catches a pass, it kind of hurts his rest of game projection because it's so, it adds to their win probability so much. So yeah, I'm not expecting him to like dial up screen passes to Devontae against the Panthers coming off the hamstring injury. So I think if he does get like 4 catches, he's probably, scoring a touchdown or getting a downfield pass. So I felt like his receptions prop was safer, whereas, his yards, it can kind of go either way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think both of them probably pretty good bets because, receptions, I just don't think they're going to really use him, to that full capacity yet in this game as a 10-point favorite. I mean, so I have him about 80% routes run. His median is about 88, but his average about 83. So, he's still questionable. So just kind of knocking a little bit of it off. And because with more of that 1-3 personnel, also that he can lose snaps, and there's a more downside risk in that single receiver, in those single receiver sets to not be that single receiver, especially if it's not in the red zone. So yeah.
Yeah, and Higbee's back. And Ferguson missed last week. Assuming he's back, they might have all 4 tight ends ready to rock. So we might, see them mixing, a ton, obviously. So just, a lot of downside. And then it's always nice, having the under on a reception prop like that and just watching Puka, get 15 targets. Anytime he throws it to Puka, that's, a non-target for Devontae.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of ways for that to go under. I think catches and yards both, because it's just why kind of stretch him in this spot. Yep. I mean, maybe you get into a pickle with like, they did lose to the Panthers already, but I think that's still like a lower probability outcome there. All right, tight end, who we got top 5?
George Kittle, Hunter Henry, Dallas Goedert, Colson Loveland, and Dalton Schultz.
I think that's, Kittle, Goddard. Kittle, Goddard, Henry, Schultz, and Arande Gadsden.
Arande.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
I did knock down Loveland a little bit just, because it looks like Odunze is going to be back. So, Loveland's not going to get probably like an 85% route rate. So, yeah, Arande is kind of back up here.
Nice.
But obviously low floor projection, but miss when that middle part of the year when he was just going crazy.
That was the best.
Yeah.
I think ever since Joe Alt went down, I think that's when the downfall happened. So that could make sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just think in this match, I mean, the Patriots are kind of a pass funnel. Their run defense has been better. This is, they rested guys. Like Herbert's probably going to be throwing it all over the place. So I'm cautiously optimistic. But who are you high on at tight end?
Yeah, I'm high on Tyler Higbee. I was a bit surprised he returned last week and what was kind of a meaningless game for them. Just because, he had missed 6 straight games due to an ankle injury. So I thought he'd be limited, but he was out there for 62% of the dropbacks and went off, 5 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown. So he could see more playing time this week, assuming he was eased back at least somewhat last week. But again, I mentioned, Ferguson was out, who could return this week. So this tight end room is going to be pretty murky in terms of like projecting it. Plus, Devontae's back. But this is a good matchup for Higbee and just all the Rams tight ends, really, because, the Panthers ranked 30th in DVOA against tight ends. Plus, they use cover 3 a ton at a top 3 rate. And Higbee's yards per route run actually goes up about a half yard against cover 3. So just a really good spot for him. I don't know if it means I'm going to be like on the overs on his props. I think, the Rams will probably get away with a pretty, run heavy game plan here. But it's good to see Higbee back. And I think, in theory, I think McVay wants him to be the lead tight end. And McVay typically doesn't, like leaning on rookies. So I think, Ferguson could see his routes run rate drop off quite a bit. But I think Higbee, heading into the playoffs, we've seen times where he looks like one of the best tight ends in the league. So he could have a good stretch run here now that he's healthy. Plus, just with the way the Rams are using tight ends. So I'm high on Higbee this week.
Yeah, definitely. Remember that? Was it last? It was last year. The same thing happened, right? He came back right before the playoffs, and then he was just going crazy. But then he got like that punctured lung. Or something happened in that Vikings game, and he was on pace for like a crazy game in that game.
It seems like every year he has like a crazy 5-game stretch.
Yep.
And then
ever since that breakout, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I remember like we were doing the flex with Friedman. It was that long ago, but yeah, what was it, 2021? I don't remember, but he had just an insane stretch where he was just getting 8+ catches and 100+ yards for like 3 or 4 games.
That was 2019. I think that was 2019. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Career high 734 receiving yards. Yeah.
Oh my god, look at that. Yeah, 4 straight games of 100+. So anyways, we could see a stretch like that. Who knows? Heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, wait, I gotta see what his numbers were against the Vikings last year. I think it was the Vikings, right? Yeah. Against the Vikings, he had like 5 catches on 5 targets for 58 yards in like a quarter and a half or something like that. And then the next week against the Eagles, 10 targets, 7 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. So he averaged 6 catches per
15 weeks with the ACL, right?
Yep.
Something like that. And I remember McVay was just constantly being pissed off at Parkinson and then Allen. Like, he just didn't like them last year. He was just waiting for Higbee to return. So, Parkinson's been a lot better this year, but I always think McVay considers Higbee, his guy and the lead tight end when everyone's healthy.
Yep, and did the same exact thing last year too. In the Week 18 game, he had he didn't really need to play, but he had 5 for 46 and a touchdown on 7 targets, and then proceeded to never catch fewer than 5 balls in the playoffs. Yep. So, right on schedule. Yeah, exactly. I am high on Dalton Kincaid. So he's interesting because I feel like he just goes missing at times. Like, he just gets ruled out and always on the injury report these days. But I think, the Bills, holding him out, a bunch of games down the stretch, he probably was working through something. And then the fact that they, got him some work in that Week 18 game in the first quarter tells me that they're looking for him to be an important part of that offense. Because remember, their wide receivers not really that reliable. And this is could be like a rare neutral to negative game script for the Bills. So I think Kincaid, being healthy here, going up against this very zone heavy Jacksonville Jaguar defense, he's going to be very involved. I think he's going to be targeted at a high rate when he's on the field. And I think he'll be on the field a little bit more than he has, because he's been every other game, he's either gotten hurt or they've been kind of just try to, limit his usage and whatnot. So you could see like him return to that 60% plus route rate in this game. I'm still projecting it around like 55, like his usual, but I think there is some upside there. And then, this Jaguar defense gives just a ton of volume to tight ends. If you look at the schedule adjusted numbers. FTN has the targets at 8.2. That's it's tied for sixth most in the league. And if you look at some of their the positions, it's really you can go to your number one receiver and you can go to your tight end against Jacksonville, which is generally true against zone coverages. So I expect a lot of Shakir, a lot of Kincaid for the Bills in this matchup. So like Kincaid here.
Yeah, he's kind of like Tyler Higbee of the East, right? Where he goes through stretches where you kind of forget he exists. And then other times, it's like he's like the best tight end in the league. Why doesn't he do this every week? But yeah, I was going to ask you about him because, I have tight end 6. But I have his routes run rate around 50, but it could easily be 60% or higher. I mean, it is, the playoffs. So with him, he sees, very high target rate. So if he sees any increase in playing time, it just really raises his ceiling.
And if you look at the just like the Bills record, I believe, with him in there this season, like they've won I want to say like almost they are 10-2 in the games that he's played, which is even better than their record on the season overall. So like they've been in a lot of positive game scripts. So like his kind of got to adjust that. Now you're a 1.5 point favorite against Jacksonville. You're on the road. Jacksonville, we know they could score, so you might see more third downs, just more passing downs, more 2-minute, all of that stuff than you've really seen all season for Kincaid. So yeah, like him. Who are you low on?
I'm low on Pat Freiermuth, who I was actually really high on last week because Darnell Washington's on IR. So I'm very high on Freiermuth's playing time. Like I have him projected right around a 75% routes run rate. I mean, he is operating as the clear lead tight end now. But with Metcalf out last week, I had his target rate being way higher. But with Metcalf back this week, his target rate's going to get dinged a bit. Plus, Rodgers was dumping off to the running backs at a high rate. I could see that continuing here against the Texans. But Texans defense is good against everybody. They also rank second in DVOA against tight ends. So, I mean, this whole, Steelers offense has a brutal matchup. I know you're low on DK. So, yeah, of all the matchups this week, the Steelers have the toughest one. So, a bit lower on Freiermuth, despite, his usage being around its peak right now. I have him all the way down to tight end 8 this week.
Yeah, it's that's where I have him as well. It's just you never know with the Steelers. Like Johnny Smith could come out and be 75%, and Freiermuth could dip back down again.
True.
This week. Like you just never truly know. I am low on Luke Musgrave. I just don't know what I'm getting from him. It's greater than the extent of Jacobs, because like Jacobs, it's like, all right, at least we have a history, but Musgrave never really truly took command of that lead tight end role. So now we expect that, but will it actually happen? Who knows? I mean, his route rate has been anywhere from like 85 to 30% in meaningful games, and the Bears, they will play, decent bit of man coverage. So, that it's not great for tight ends. They are top 10 in DVOA against tight ends are the Chicago Bears, which compared to, receivers and running backs, that's essentially their best position at defending. So Luke Musgrave, I know, probably be tempting lead tight end. We like Jordan Love to kind of exceed expectation here, but I just really don't know what I'm getting out of Musgrave. I could see Wiley end up kind of coming close in the route rate. You got, you just never know. And I just think there's too much uncertainty with, a pretty decent tight end slate. Even if you knock like Loveland down and his routes, like he's still there. He's still got Brenton Strange. So yeah, I don't know what to do with Musgrave. He's my tight end 11 this week.
Yeah, so I was showing value on both his reception and receiving yards under. Do you have any preference on those markets? Because they're offering 2.5 receptions, like a hard 2.5. It's not like unders minus 140 or something like that. It's minus 108 for under that. His receiving yards prop is 23.5. But yeah, I'm projecting for a 52% routes run rate, but I think it could be lower. I'm trying to figure out. I need to go dive in to see what was up, week 17. But I think he has a very low floor here.
What was up was they got blown out by Tyra Huntley, and all the starters came out of the game. But
yeah, and then week 16, he had an 84% route run rate. I believe Wiley was out. Fitzpatrick was active, and Fitzpatrick just got hurt right away. So they didn't even have Dabney in there. So I think just Musgrave just was the only tight end standing, right? That's why he got the 84%.
Yeah, so I have him at 60%. So I'm not 10% higher than you, like 8 to 10% higher than you, and I still have him well under that 23.5. Like I don't even have his average at 23, much less his median. And then I have his his receptions at like 2.4. So that's still a median of 2. So yeah, I would go under both. But I think I would rather the receptions because the Bears, defense that would play man coverage. The Packers have been known to go super run heavy at times in the playoffs. So there's a lot of ways that you could, and then of course, like you said, Wiley, or just Musgrave, just, not being the last read on the play. Just so many ways, so many outs, for Musgrave.
Top 3 receivers are healthy. Which is rare. There's only been like 4 games where the top 3 receivers have been healthy. So yeah, a lot to not like about Musgrave.
I mean, it's only Tuesday. We'll see. Can they make it?
Yeah, exactly. It's too early in the week to be locking props in. I had to do that with Adams because I thought, that'd get steamed down. But yeah, I'd like to dive in a little bit more than I have this early.
I just meant for the Packers having healthy receivers. Like it's only Tuesday.
Oh well, yeah. Wicks is still banged up.
Walk around and live life.
Exactly. Dobbs can tweak something on Thursday, right?
Yep. I mean, Watson seems to tweak something every other week. Yeah, like Reed, what did he play, like 5 games?
Didn't he have something to make his left hamstring, not as big as his right or something? He had something where they weren't symmetrical, and then he had
then he tore his ACL, right?
No, I think.
Was that post ACL?
That was last year. Last year he was coming back from ACL, right?
He's always coming back from ACL.
I know. He's
coming back from ACL this year too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but he was coming back from a hamstring injury.
Yeah,
and then he said, "I figured out how to fix that." He had like his left hamstring was bigger than, and then he tore his ACL. I don't think those are related, but anytime you're like tweaking with things, you set yourself up to get hurt. But yeah, he's always hurt. Moral of the story.
Oh no! Last year, I think what happened was he was held out in week 17, and then they had a meaningless week 18 game against the Bears, and then they played him, and he tore his ACL, and then the next week they go to Philly, and all their other receivers get hurt. So they got him hurt and Love got hurt too in that Bear game last year, but he played against Philly. But
it makes sense they would just rest everybody this week 18.
Oh yeah. They're not playing no games with that. Yeah. Tight end prop. Let's see. I'm thinking it's got to be a Rams one somehow. I'm trying to see what I want to do.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, because that's definitely the hardest one to project right now, at least. The interesting thing is, like Parkinson, how much of his role, like how much does Higbee affect him in a meaningful game?
And Ferguson too, if he's back.
I mean, Ferguson seemed to be like. I feel like Ferguson, like you said, he would probably get the raw end of the stick just because he's a rookie and he was already 4th until all this like weirdness happened, and then he kind of bumped up. So I think Higbee versus Parkinson is the hardest. So I'm gonna just give you. Well, I gotta make Higbee the favorite. I'll say Higbee's the favorite by a half a fantasy point, half PPR, just because it's playoff Higbee. But are you gonna? Parkinson could easily catch a touchdown, obviously, and Higbee might not. So yeah, I'll go Higbee versus Parkinson. Higbee's a half point favorite.
Yeah, I have him exactly a half point higher. Yeah, Parkinson's had a higher touchdown rate. But like you said, like yeah, Higbee went down before this, really heavy tight end rotation happened. So it is
he only had 4 weeks with, they started in week 7, like that week before the bye in London against the Jaguars. But yeah, it wasn't really like on going crazy until, he was out already.
Yeah. Oh man, this is tough. I'll take Higbee. I'll take Higbee here.
Yeah, I think that's the right side, honestly. Yeah. I was hoping you would take Parkinson.
It's close, though. It's close.
All right, that is going to do it for our NFL Wildcard Weekend Player Projections episode. Be sure to subscribe to the Fantasy Flex Pod so you don't miss an episode for the rest of the playoffs. Also, don't forget, you can go to fantasylabs.com or check out the Fantasy Labs app for all of our player projections. You can use code FLEX20 for $20 off. Our DFS tools and models are at Fantasy Labs as well. We'll be back with our favorite touchdown scores over on the Action Network podcast later in the week. Sean is on X at _oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this money.